Okay. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'd. Last night, the last thing that we were talking about, that Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah he mentioned one of the most important rules. He mentions two rules mainly when it comes to Allah's names and attributes. Rule number one, that we only describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with what He described Himself with. We stuck to what's in the Quran and what's in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't affirm nor we negate something is not in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we basically strictly, this chapter, very strictly limited to what's in the Quran and the Sunnah. And the best example for that, when Imam Ahmad rahimahullah was asked questions about things that is ambiguous, or he was asked to give an opinion that things that is not in the Quran and Sunnah, he kept saying what? Ituni bi nass min kitabillah aw min kalami rasulillah. You want me to say that the Quran is one of Allah's creation, is not His speech? Give me proof from the Quran or give me proof from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, when people start coming up with, kind of very ambiguous statements like saying, my pronunciation of the Quran, is that something, is it a creation or it is not? It's a word of Allah or not? When I say, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, is قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ that I said, it is my words or Allah's word? And Imam Ahmad hated that kind of, indulgence, the kind of, debate, this kind of talk, because it's basically just a tricky kind of questions. What exactly do you mean? That's why Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said, stop. What do you mean? You mean قُلْ وَاللَّهُ أَحَدٌ as a statement? It is not your words, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words, because it originally came from Allah. If you're talking about the voices coming out of your mouth, these voices coming out, it's belonged to you, so it's a creation of Allah. But he said this kind of bid'ah we should not involve ourselves in. So that's been the way of Ahl al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah. Same thing with Imam al-Shafi'i, Malik, al-Imam kullu, most of the Imams or all the Imam of Ahl al-Sunnah, that's been the tradition of Ahl al-Sunnah. That they strict themselves to what's in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So among the things in the Quran and Sunnah that we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described Himself with things that He affirmed to Himself, confirmed that He has these qualities, and these are detailed, which is the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have also things that He negated from Himself. He negated that He possessed this quality. And these negations come, generally speaking, general and sometimes specific. And I told you, any specific negations in the Quran and Sunnah, it is for two reasons. Anybody remember them? For two reasons. Any negation which is specific in the Quran and Sunnah is for two reasons. Yes? To refute a claim or to confirm the complete opposite. The complete opposite. Then he give you an example of قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ. Okay? He said, basically, what does as-samad means? What's as-samad means? As-samad has two interpretations among the early scholars. Number one, as-samad, it means the one huwa alladhi la jawfa lah, the one who is not hollow. There is no hollow inside Him. He doesn't have anything inside Him which is hollow. It is something solid. Okay? So that's what one of the first meaning, and it's been reported that Ibn Mas'ud said that. It's been reported Ibn Abbas read that. Ibn al-Ambari, for example, which is a famous Arabic scholar, he said originally as-samad comes from the word samat. As-samt. You know the word samt? Have you heard this word before? What's samt? To remain quiet. Yani, nothing in it. It just Samad. Okay, it's Samad, it means nothing. So something musmat, it means there is no space inside it. So this fist is Samad, okay, because there is no air, nothing inside it. It's completely solid. But when you open it like that and there is air or there is a space inside it, that cannot be Samad. So قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ Allahu Samad, يعني Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Samad, there is nothing inside him. So when he said لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ, he has no children comes out of him because he is Samad. There is nothing inside him to come out of him. You understand? So لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ, he did not basically produce children. No, he was produced himself, because he want to confirm, he negate لَمْ يَلِدْ, he negate that he ever had children. To negate what? To negate to confirm what? To confirm the previous word, which is Samad. Is that clear? Is that clear? وَلَمْ يُولَدْ, he didn't come from someone else. Okay? To confirm that he is absolutely perfect, absolutely great. Because if he come from someone else, that means he adopt that thing's quality. He basically gained that quality from someone else. And that was the end of the surah confirmed, which is وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفْوًا أَحَدٌ. There is no one similar to him. He's absolutely perfect. And if he was coming from someone, he will basically, that someone will have the same quality of Allah. But that's not the case. He is nothing similar to him. So you see these negations, these two negations in specific negations in this verse are meant to confirm two qualities that they are mentioned in the surah. Clear? Clear? Another interpretation for the word Samad, which has been reported from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh. The first interpretation that it means هو الذي لا جوف له, there is no basic. Also confirmed that he doesn't eat, he doesn't drink. You know, versus all the creations almost will have, there is something hollow inside them. Okay, there is emptiness inside them. The ulama said except the angels. They are not like that. The angel there is no hollow inside it. But who knows? We don't know how they are created anyway. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unique about that sense. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah is not a big supporter of that interpretation for the word Samad. And he actually said, he criticized Ibn al-Ambari for his interpretation. And he said the word Samad has nothing to do with Samat, with Samt or Musmat. He said we should go back to the bigger root. Okay, and he discussed this from a sarf perspective. Then he said the other famous interpretation, which is also reported from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, and it was reported from Ibn Abbas from a very famous student, which is Abu Talha, who reported this from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh in a very well-known document. It's called Sahifatul Tafsir, which is basically a paper that he wrote directly from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh wa arda, and it is very famous as a big reference when it comes to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh's statement. Anyway, Ali ibn Abi Talha, he said that Ibn Abbas said الصمد يعني الذي تصمد إليه الخلائق في حوائجها. As-Samad, that the one that all creation needs him. All creation rely on him. So when we say this wall is Samad in Arabic language, it is because I can lean against. But if it is something like this, the moment I do it will collapse, we cannot call that Samad. You understand? Okay? So when you have something solid that you can rely on, you call that Samad. Something tasmud. That's why sumud, which it means something firm, something will not change. So that's what the whole entire idea of the word Samad comes from. So it means that this is the one that everyone rely on. So if this is the case, how the negation of lam yalid wa lam yulad has to do with the samad? Because Allah doesn't need a child to help or to aid. He didn't come from someone before him. He is himself by himself, absolutely perfect, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And both interpretations are very famous. He said, and following basically this idea of the affirmation and negations, it came in Surah Al-Ikhlas. Surah Al-Ikhlas was called Surah Al-Ikhlas, the Surah of sincerity. Anybody knows why we call it Surah Qul Huwa Ahad Al-Ikhlas? Why we call it Ikhlas? Come on guys, Qul Huwa Ahad, that's like all kids know it. All no kids know the surah. I'm sure we all know the surah, Qul Huwa Ahad. But why we call it Ikhlas? Have you heard this name before, Al-Ikhlas? Do you guys know how we name surahs? How the surah were named? Do you guys know? Okay, cool. Because I was talking to Arsalan that one of the things that I would be interested in teaching an introduction for Ulum al-Quran. Like a short course, an intro to Ulum al-Quran. Something you learn there. So the surah are named in 3 ways. I don't want to go intangible today a lot, but no problem, just quickly. Number 1 is by the subject. Number 2, so there is a subject in the surah, then you name the surah after the subject. Number 2, that there is so much detailed information about specific subject or specific story. So you pick that basically name after the, yes, Surah Ibrahim. The story of Ibrahim mentioned in many different surahs. But because there is so much details in certain area in Ibrahim, you know, it was called that name. Then you have the third one, a unique word that was used in this surah. You will not find it in any other surah. Al-Baqarah is not the main theme of the whole entire surah, but the surah was named Al-Baqarah because you cannot find this word mentioned in any other surah. So it's a very unique, Al-Adiyat and stuff like that. So these are the 3 ways how the surahs were named. And some of the surahs are named by the Prophet ﷺ. Some of the surah were named by the companions. Some of the surah named by the successors. Some of the surah names by the following of the successors. So there is a lot of names been going around, okay, not necessarily from the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but that's how the naming of the surah is. There is a very interesting question when we take the class, maybe we can answer this. Can we make a new name for a surah? Since you have all the way to the tabi'een and you know, can we make a new name for the surah? Inshallah, when we take the class, I'll tell you. I'll tell you no, but I'll tell you why. Anyway, we go back. I'll take your question just in a second. So then he mentioned another verse, which is Surah Ayat al-Kursi. Also we touch upon. In it, there is 2 negations. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. As-sina, it is basically the drowsiness that right before you fall asleep. And also, in it, there is negation of naum, sleeping. And we said, because Allah also mentioned and confirmed 2 quality right before that. Al-Hayy, the complete life, the complete hayat, the complete Al-Hayat, life, he's the most living one, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Life is a great quality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by the way, life, because He is Al-Hayy, all lives are giving because of Him. Are giving as a result of that name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by the way, there is a lot of different life. You know, especially those who study biology will know what I'm talking about. Or you to remember your courses in college or whatever you're studying. Any simple course about biology tell you how there is many different type of life. But I'll tell you, there is even a life for things that we think it is not a life. There is a life that's beyond what human beings can see. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ibn Mas'ud said, كنا نسمع تسبيح الحصى على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بين يديه. We used to hear the stones when the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم hold them making tasbih, saying subhanallah. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, see the hayah. He used to give khutbah standing on what? on a trunk of a palm tree, old palm tree's trunk. He was standing on the top of it, and he giving the khutbah. And a woman came, she said, Ya Rasulullah, we can't see you, we are in the back. And how about this? How about if I have a business? She owns a business of a carpenter. So she said, I can make for you a mimbar, something that you can stand on the top of it, which is today the mimbar that we have. And the Nabi said, like her idea, and she made one for him 3 steps. He said, make it 3 steps. So it became 3 steps, and he stood on the top of it, and he started giving the khutbah. All of a sudden, the Sahaba heard that trunk crying. That's a sign of life. And some of the fuqaha, some of the ulama, some of the theologians said that was a miracle that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want to show it to the follower of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was giving all the miracles of all the previous prophets and messengers and higher. We know that Isa alayhi salam gave life to the dead human, but Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was giving life to things that never were life, which is a dead tree. So that's even higher level than making a dead person speaking from his grave, like Isa did. So that's a higher level, is to make a trunk, and what? A dead trunk. It's cut, it's dry, to make it talk or express feeling and cry. That's a higher level. Anyway, going back to what we're talking about. So here in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in many he said, Uhud, Jabal yuhibbuna wa nuhibbuh. The mountain of Uhud is a mountain that he loves. This mountain loves us, and we love it. Loving is a sign of life, isn't it? So this type of life is beyond the physical world that we sometimes think that we limit ourselves in it. This life is much bigger circle than many people think. Also, as a result of his name Al-Hayy, and I want to make sure that we don't pass without mentioning this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also give life to the hearts. Hayatul Qulub comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you might be physically alive, but you know what? You don't have a life. Like what we say, some people, they are working very hard every day, go to work every day, blah, 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 to make a living, but they forget to make a life. You know? So some people, they might physically alive, but they don't have life. And then that's not, they're dead, their heart is dead. So Al-Hayy is a very great, beautiful name. And perfect life. What is perfect life? Perfect life, which it means doesn't have it means absolutely complete life, complete power, complete no death or any form of it. That's why Allah basically show you that even the sleep, the minor form of death, is not applicable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nor even the introduction to sleep, which is the drowning, the just sinner. Also Al-Qayyum, the one who take care of all the creations. Al-Qayyum, the one who look after all the creation. That's Al-Qayyum, الذي تقوم به أمور العباد. يعني all our affairs depends on him. He taking care of all of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who taking care of all of the. That's why he said later on in the verse, وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. He negated that it will ever make him tired or exhausted to take care of the heavens and the earth. In the end of that verse. That's right. So that negation, he negate that to show you how complete qayyumiyyah he has. So any negation in the Quran is always meant to represent the complete opposite. All what you need to do is to look into the verses and to see that connection. وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. That's another 2 quality of Allah. Again, a detailed description of Allah. Al-Ali Al-Azim, which it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Ali, the all the exalted subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the great. Yes, you have a question before I move forward.
Yesterday you talked about Allah not needing anything, but then why did He create us? Obviously He doesn't need our worship. We need to worship Him. But at the end of it, like just asking in general.
Yeah. We don't worship Allah because Allah needs our worship. We worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is good for us. That's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked, why do you exhaust yourself in the worship of Allah? Your sin forgiving, you already guarantee Jannah. You 100% guarantee Jannah. So why are you still doing all this? You know, when I was a college student, I had a teacher, his name Dr. Kamil Busnina, in teaching Arabic. It was the first week in the class, in the semester. Okay? First week, maybe first month, something like that. In the very early stage in the semester. He asked questions, and it happened that I know the answer for those questions. Okay? It's something has to do with the grammar, and it has 7 different ways of making i'rab to this verse in the Quran. Inna hadani lasahiran. You will think inna hadayni lasahiran. So, but it comes hadan, marfu'a. And this is one of the verse that a lot of people attack Quran saying it's bad grammar. So anyway, so I mentioned to him 6 or maybe the 7 ways of why this is a perfect Arabic language. He was so impressed. I just happened to be reading this. So when I answered, he said, Waleed, you got A in this class. You don't need to worry about anything in this class anymore. I didn't take the exam. I barely attend any class after that. I'm serious. And I got A because he said it, give me A. I was a very nice guy, students. Okay? But you know what? Because I said, why would I bother myself taking the exam? You know, why would I take the risk? Or why would I come? You know, I will use this time to study something else. I start to prepare myself for another. Unless there's something I don't know, I will go to that session. But other than that, I didn't bother to show up, you know, in the class. So this is because I know 100% that I got A. But look at the difference. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Ya Rasulullah, all your sin forgiven. You go into Jannah, guarantee, no doubt about it. What his answer was? أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Shouldn't I be a servant who's grateful and thankful to Allah? Because he knows that this ibadah benefits him, it doesn't benefit Allah. يا عبادي إنكم لن تبلغوا نفعي فتنفعوني ولن تبلغوا ضري فتضروني. My servant, you never benefit me, you never harm me. What you do, you benefit yourself and you harm yourself. That's why the ibadah of Allah, it actually rises us up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human being, but He wants the human being to go higher level than just be an angel. Adam alayhi salam on earth, he is much higher status than Adam alayhi salam in paradise. There is no if or doubt about that. Because he is now in paradise next, he earning it. It is something to elevate the human being. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us. He doesn't need that. That's why He told Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam many times, don't kill yourself over them being kuffar. They're only harming themselves.
Why create at all? He doesn't need to have any.
Why He creates? Because if He never create anything, would He be a creator? No. If nobody ever, He wouldn't be a creator. And if He's not a creator, would that be a perfection? God? No. So simple as that. Another principle that I want to make sure that we understand before we go forward, and this is an interesting principle. It's called نظرية القدر المشترك. If I want to use fancy words for it in Arabic, we call it basically الاشتراك اللفظي. الاشتراك في الإطلاق اللفظي يؤدي إلى الاشتراك في الإطلاق المعنوي. In another word, we can say whenever you have Do you guys want the root of it or just the bottom line? The root of it, that's right. So you kind of comprehend this, you know what the story is. Okay. So help me if you guys see this similarity in English. Okay. So in Arabic language, and I think Jinn language, I think all languages in the world is like that too. In Arabic language, we have words that we call them mutaradifat, which is they are equal to each other, synonymous to each other. Okay? Layth, Asad, same meaning. Got it? Then we have words with so this is mutaradifat. Asad, Layth. Then you have another word, it's called mutadaddat, the opposite of each other. Like salam, harb, peace, and what's the opposite of peace? War. Very good. Then you have a third category. We call them mushtarak lafzi. Which it means there is two words sound exactly the same, but they have completely different meanings. Like we say, for example, the word qur in Arabic language. Qur, which it means what? Purity, and also could means impurity. You see? Impurity. Okay? So, also another word can be more detailed than that. Ayn. What ayn means? The letter ayn in the alphabet. And ayn means Dr. Arsalan. Eyes. Okay? And ayn means the evil eyes. Go back to. But ayn al-ma, the what? The well. Then ayn, it means nafs, the entity of something, we call it ayn. And also ayn, it means dhahab, gold. So the word ayn has so many meanings. That's right. Are you following? In English, give you example.
Cool.
Spring. Spring, what spring means? The season, jumping up, a metallic thing. So one word carry what? I told you, this rule applied to Jinn language, not English language, all languages in the world. Then you have something, it's called mushtarak asma mushakkika. Asma mushakkika, it means names or words, okay? They are identical, okay? But these names or these words, they are identical, two words identical to each other's, but they are different from one another, but the difference between them not in the entity, not in the meaning. The meaning is the same, but that meaning basically is levels. Is what? Levels. It's like what we say, abyad. What's abyad means? White. Is all white the same thing? No. You say, you know, this paper is white. This guy is white. This ice or snow is white. That's right. The what's around your eyes, inside your eyes. There's a whiteness in your eyes. And this whiteness is what? Many different levels. That's right. What's your name again? Muhammad. Huh? Abdul Jalil. So, Abdul Jalil is a smart. And Muhammad is a smart. But it's not necessarily that they are equally smart, are you? Who is smarter? Abdul Jalil. Cool. So Abdul Jalil, okay, definitely smarter than me. Okay, inshallah. So he is smarter than me. You know, we're smart, but he's smart in certain things. Maybe I'm smarter in other things. You see what I'm saying? So yes, we are having the same quality, which is smart, but we're not what? Equal in it. Okay? Aisha has knowledge. I have knowledge. But our knowledge is different levels. Does that make sense? It's simple, that's right. All Allah's names and attributes and descriptions fall under this category. Anything that Allah described Himself with, it falls under this category, which is the name of it. Share with us the word, the sounds, which is the alphabet, okay? And share with us the general meaning, but they are not equal to one another. Is that good? Is that good? So, Allah, one of His name is Al-Malik, the King. That's right? And we have someone in the top of the throne of Bahrain is also king. In Jordan, king. We have in Thailand a king. We have in Denmark a king, or I think, or a queen, I'm not sure. Or then you have in Saudi Arabia a king, that's right? He is a king and Allah is the king. He is the king and the king. Allah said in the Quran, وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي, the king of Egypt said. And Allah referred to him as the king. But nobody will understand that the nature of the king, which is Allah, is the same as what? The king which is of Egypt. That's right. Allah has knowledge and you have knowledge. We understand its knowledge, but the nature of this knowledge different than what? Than your knowledge. Allah hears and you hear. Allah sees and you see. But they are different level. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears and sees things all the same. You can't hear and sees everything the same. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يَسْمَعُهُ مَنْ بَعُدْ كَمَنْ قَرُبْ. Those who are far away from Allah and those who are close to it, Allah hears them the same way. We don't hear that way. Those who are very far, we can't hear them clearly. That's right. And those who are far away, you can't see them. If I can see the far away, I wouldn't go to our salat. I don't need glasses. You know, I will. So here we say that all of Allah's names and attributes falls under this category. Okay, there is one more category, but there is no need for going in more detail. But here, if you understand this, this is an essential way of communicating. Because you have to be familiar with the word, the letters, the sounds of the word, and you have to be familiar with the meaning of the word to understand what I'm saying. That's right. But if one of these two are missing, you will never figure out, hey, otherwise, if I didn't tell you the word, it's going to be what? What that game called? That you try to charade. It will be a charade game. You know, I never told you what the word is. You have to figure it out. The messenger didn't come to the people trying to act for them. Hey, that's how Allah is. And try to they don't do that. So it has to be the word. Then with the word, it has to be a meaning that commonly known. Otherwise, it will be like what I told Ustad Haytham yesterday, which is what? Barambalul. You remember? What's that Barambalul? It is Shaghbalul and Barambalul. You put them together, you got your truck. You know? But you understand. But again, when you say truck, what do you understand? What do you understand, sister? From the word truck? Vehicle. Do you understand water fountain? Do you understand truck? It means umbrella? No. You have an idea what that means. Do you understand truck? It means a black or white or big or small, new or old? No. This is where you understand a general meaning. This is as simple as it sounds to you. It was the biggest challenge for many people through history to process it through their heads. They thought if we say knowledge and knowledge, or wisdom and wisdom, it make them same. Which is linguistically, as a common sense, not the case. Okay? So all the names fall under this category. For those who maybe kind of benefit from it. You have some of the Mu'tazila said, oh, all the names of Allah actually under the Mushtarak al-Lafzi, which has many different meanings. We don't know what it really means. Or the Mufawwidah. They will say every name has many different meanings. We don't know which one of them meant. Which is absolutely not acceptable. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about ilm, and this ilm has 20 different meanings, and we don't know which one is meant. If I say ayn, and just kept quiet, did I ever guide you? Did I ever give you a full sentence? A beneficial information? No. So how can you tell me that Allah is describing Himself in a most confusing way? Allah must expose Himself or express Himself to us in the most simple way, in the most clear way, so we know who He is, so we worship Him. So we will love Him, so we will follow Him. That's the whole point. And that's basically, that's what Ahl Sunnah rahimahumullah have said in regard to the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they all under this category. And that's how we understand the meaning of each and every one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names. Another important principle that I would like to say to you, that the thing that Allah describes Himself with are different. He describes Himself in different ways. He describes Himself to us by giving Himself names. So He gives Himself a name. And that name is a description. So He called Himself, for example, Al-Alim. That's a noun. Okay? He called Himself Al-Hakim. He called Himself Al-Khabir. He called Himself Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Ad-Dayyan, and so on. Okay? And another way He described Himself to us, by describing Himself not by a name, but through telling us about His action. Yasma', He hears. He is hearing. He is creating. He heard them. Okay? So it comes in the form of what? Verb. Okay? Sometimes, so we call this ism, and we call this fi'l, and also sometimes it is just a general description, wasf, that He has knowledge. Adjective, like He has wisdom, He has power, He has will. Okay? Sometimes this description, He will take a name out of it or no. Some of these actions, He will take name from it and apply it to Himself. Sometimes no. It just kept as a verb or an action that He did. Also, there is another way that He described Himself with, which is, we call it khabar, which is just to inform us about Him. It's kind of informing us about Allah. And that area, even us, we are allowed to say and to refer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with. Not as a name, not as an attribute, not as something we call Him with. Like for example, I will say Allah is as-sani', the maker of the world. There is no such verse or hadith refer to Him as the maker. But I just want to describe Him, inform you. We call this khabar. Okay? For example, I would say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who take cares of, there's no verse or no text say He take care. Take care, that's an expression I made. You see what I'm saying? So is this haram? No, it's not haram. It's because the meaning is correct. It's kind of hot here, so if you guys can figure that out, unless it's only me. But so this is one of the things that we call it khabar anillah. So we need to keep that in mind as we're going to read some of these verses. You're going to see the difference between the name and the sifa, the ism and the sifa. Sifa, the attribute, just for those who you need to know Arabic to get this to figure this out, the difference between a name and a sifa. But as a key point, just very simple way to figure out which one is name, which was sifa. The name, okay, you cannot add dhu to it. Sifa, you can add dhu to it. So for example, Ar-Rahmah, this is a name or a sifa? Name. Dhur Rahmah. If it takes dhu, it means sifa. But Ar-Rahman, Dhur Rahman, doesn't work. So it's just a simple way to figure out linguistically difference between name and sifa. Anyway, an adjective and a noun. The actions, the verbs, it's called fi'liyah, something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does it. Here, can you give me just a focus your attention for a few minutes? We found that some of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, the way He described Himself, that there are certain things He described Himself with, and these things are something that is always happening by Allah. Always. Okay? And it is applied to everything, every time. But there are certain things He described Himself with, He made it conditional. He didn't say that happen all the time. You follow? It is a condition. Give you an example. Allah said in the Quran, فَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا. When Musa came to meet me, I spoke to him. So that means Allah didn't speak to Musa until he arrived to that place, which is in Sinai. That's right? So it was a conditional. He spoke to him when he arrived. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we all know this statement, very famous, which is based on absolute correct evidence. If you do something wrong, Allah will be angry at you. That's right? And when you do something good, Allah will be pleased with you. So He made it it happened as a condition. So that means the pleasing happened to you when you what? Do what is earn that. Rewarding, punishing. These actions of Allah. He reward you when you do good. He reward you when you meet Him in the day of judgment. He punish you when you do wrong. He punish you when you meet Him in the day of judgment. So these are conditioned by time. Okay? So it's not like knowledge. There's no condition. There is nobody said Allah knows when He wants, or knows when, there is no, you cannot put a condition to it. That's right. Or Allah alive when, you can't say that. That's right. It's absolutely not acceptable. Allah is powerful when, you can't say when. That's right. Allah hears when He wants to hear. No, Allah hears everything all the time and sees everything all the time. But Allah doesn't talk to everyone. That's right. But He hears everyone. He sees everyone. Are you following? Are you following? Before Allah created the throne, He was not having istiwa. He was not above the throne. That happened after creating the throne. So these are, we call this in science, theology, or the scholar call it sifat fi'liya. These actions are basically known as as-sifat, the attribute, the fi'li sifat, which are conditioned to, are conditional. But the other one is unconditional. There is no condition to it. There is no limit to it, or there is no condition put on it. Shaykh Waleed, why are you going to details like that? What's the point? There is an important point. Through history, many people couldn't accept the concept of these actions that are conditioned. They actually rejected it. And I can tell you, through history of Islam, the vast majority, 99% of these sects that exist out there about Allah's names and attributes, they reject that concept. Why? By the way, nobody rejects any attributes because they just want to reject. A lot of people are kuffar, but they're not. They're good Muslims and they have a good intention. But where is the missing link here? Huh?
It's like Allah's attributes are conditional on something that He created, so that's why.
No. You remember, I told you that Allah always possessed these great qualities. So some people said, they thought, if we say, Allah angry at you when you make the sin, so that means He never had the quality of anger, and this is something new happened to Him. And Allah, nothing new can happen to Him.
I've heard this is the exact same argument someone was telling me.
Okay, I know. It's not surprising. So they said, the mercy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy to you when you do something you deserve. He said, I cannot prove that. Why? Because that means Allah's mercy, something happened to Allah. And we cannot say that because Allah always been perfect. The missing point was here that when we say Allah reward you or get angry at you when you do a sin, we didn't say that the anger, the ability to have the anger, it didn't initiate it at that point. He always have the ability to do that. He always have the ability to speak, but He speaks when He wants. He rewards when He wants. We didn't say a new quality happened to Allah. Otherwise, this is kufr, a'udhu billah. So that's how Ahl Sunnah said we understand the concept of the fi'li action, fi'li sifat. Say that again or clear? Yes.
Can it also be because it's like saying that there are exceptions to His perfection?
Why would be exception?
Like saying that if something happens, then, like He's angry. He's not always angry, but it's like the perfect God would not be angry. If that makes sense.
No, He's not angry. That's why we don't say He's not the angry guy. He get angry at the one who disobey Him. The problem with English words, don't forget this. English words carry connotations, not necessarily to be the same as the Arabic ones. So there are certain words in English, they always associate with negative connotation. Like, best example, the word hate. In English, hate never come in a positive. It doesn't have any positive connotation to it. But al-bughd in Arabic language has a positive meaning on it. But if you translate to just literally to English, here when you're lost in translation, you get the problem. So when we say he's angry at those who disobey him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's how he described himself. That's how he told us about it. So again, this is a perfect example. So some people said, but if I say he's angry, this doesn't fit him. We say, you remember what we read yesterday, he knows himself better than anyone else. And he described himself with what fits him. I didn't make up this description. I'm just saying what Allah said about himself. Kabura maqtan indallah. Allah is angry at those who say things and they don't do it. Okay? فَلَمَّا آسَفُونَا انْتَقَمْنَا مِنْهُمْ. Ibn Abbas said, آسَفُونَا أَغْضَبُونَا. So you will see, and it's going to come these kind of ayat. So we say that we just stick with what in the Quran and Sunnah. And we don't see this as a negative, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is angry at, it's like He punish those who disobey Him, and so forth. So the fi'li sifat, min jihati asliha, from the side of it is, as a quality in itself, Allah been always having this quality. But from afraduha, basically the implementation of it happened according to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever He applied. So for example, loves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Yeah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala love the believers, love the good deeds, love this and that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not love someone who is disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is making disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah would love for them good. But themselves, He wants them to come to to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they receive the love and the mercy and the reward of Allah. Yes? Okay. Inshallah, I will wrap it up. 5 minutes.
One of the arguments I've heard is that as a human, how can you do something that causes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to react? In that kind of sense, that you did this sin, so that caused Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get angry. What makes you think that you're so significant that the creator of the world react to that? Does this fall under this kind of category?
I wouldn't know that. I only know that because Allah told me that. Yes?
Is this why some of the mutakallimun, as a response to saying the Quran is created, they said that the Quran was always something that Allah had. He didn't speak it, it was something always.
That's a different thing. That's a different thing. That for them, it's going to come. I'm going to comment on this in all the verses. You remember when I told you that for Ahl Sunnah al-Jama'ah they said that all the names and attributes of Allah are established by the Quran and Sunnah. That's right. We do have a group of people said, no, actually, we confirm from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the attributes of Allah, what the aql lead to. What the logically, which one of these attributes can be literally given to Allah. They said 7. And that's where the famous 7 came from. For some groups, they said 7. And some of them said 7 and can be 14 because they take the opposite of it. Anyway, so they said the 7. And they came up, they said the aql, the logic, lead to the 7. The aql say God must have these 7s. They said this. So I'm not going to, I don't think I need to explain how they come up with this 7. But the aql said 7 only. And these 7s are hearing, seeing, speaking, live, knowledge, will, and ability. So these are the 7 things that we believe in God. Any other ones, we don't believe. Why I'm bringing this point? Because Ahl Sunnah al-Jama'ah said something very interesting. Ahl Sunnah al-Jama'ah, when they took a look into this, they said that the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala logically fall under two categories. The logical, any case in the world, logically, it be something you say, it must be exist, okay? Cannot be exist. It is possibly to be exist. That's right? There's no fourth category. It's either something must be exist, something cannot be exist, or possibly to be exist. Can you give me an example of possible to be exist? Unicorn. Okay, how about this? How about this? You. Any one of you, impossible to be exist? No, because you are exist. Any one of you must be exist? Let's assume you've never been created. What's going to happen to the world? Nothing. You think the world will collapse if you don't exist? No. Every one of us existence, it is what? Possible. You can be here, you can't be not be here. It's possible. But Allah's existence must. Okay? Two gods, impossible. Okay? So, and just to simplify it, there's many examples if you can think of. Okay? You cannot have something in the same times exist and not exist. That's impossible. You cannot have something that is moving and not moving in the same time. It's impossible. You know, so many things like that. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say here, these are three areas. Allah's names and Allah's attributes, or the description of Allah, falls under two of the three, which is things that is must or possible. But none of Allah's descriptions fall under the third category, which is impossible. What is impossible? That God to be unfair, that God to be ignorant, that God to be irrational. That's impossible. That's why Allah doesn't have these qualities. But God, when He tells us that He loves, when God tells us that He has mercy, when God tells us that He is above the world, when God tells us that He has knowledge, that's something we know. He must be, to be God, you must have knowledge, you must have the ability, you must have the power. But if He tells us He's above His throne, it's not must, but it is possible. There is nothing impossible about that. You understand logically, without any text. Is that clear? He said that He created Adam with His hand. That's possible. It's not impossible, but it's not must too. You follow? So the problem with those group, they thought that the only thing that it has to be God possessed is the thing that is must. But that's not true. It could be in this other circle, which is the possible things. Next, is that explained to you a little bit what we talk about? The most important thing to understand, there is nothing ever Allah described Himself with, it is impossible to be attributed to Allah. There is nothing like that. It is always either possible or it must logically be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you understand that some scholar use this is sifat aqliyah and sifat khabariyah, okay? And that's where this term came from. So when we're going to read next is a lot of verses in the Quran talking about many of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's descriptions, and you will see some of these rules that I explained to you briefly, how it apply and are applicable to the verses they're going to read. Yes?
When it comes to the naming attributes, there are some that are conditional, but none of them you can say are temporary.
No temporary.
So the one question I heard was, what was happened to the name of God in the end,
He said, what will happen to the universe when everybody go to Jannah and Hellfire? How the Creator, how He will continue as a Creator. But you still, there's a lot of things happen in Hellfire and Paradise are happening. Allah creating everything. هَذَا رِزْقُنَا مَا لَهُ مِن نَفَادٍ. Every day, every time He create for them some. That's number one. Number two, who told us that the only creation of Allah are us. Nobody can make that claim that the only creation of Allah are the humans, or the only creation of Allah is this universe. You know, we don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has awalim kathira. He's been created since the azal. The creations are infinite. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, way before Adam and way before everything. You go back, there is a creation. Prior to this creation, there is another creation. Prior to this creation, another creation. To the no end. And it's going to continue this way to no end. This way and that way. Never at one point there is no creation. Because if you said at one point there is no creation, there will be. And that's one of the things that people attack Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And they said Ibn Taymiyyah believed that there is an infant, a creation like God, who is no beginning. Ibn Taymiyyah never said that. Ibn Taymiyyah said there is no single one creation has no start, no start point. But as a concept, the creation, it doesn't have a single point of starting.
How do you understand the Prophet when he said the first thing he ever created was the throne, if that narration is accurate?
It never said that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first thing he ever created, the throne, there is no such hadith at all, even fabricated. The hadith that you talk about, the pen. And the pen, the first thing Allah created the pen, and He told the pen to write. It's like when I say, Mujib, Salatullah, or Layla just came in, and I said, Layla, first one to come in the second session, and I told Layla, write down. It doesn't mean Layla is the first one. So I said, Layla enter, and I said, Layla first, when Layla enter, I first said, write down. It doesn't mean she's the first one who entered. It means the first thing that it was given to her as a task is to write. So Allah created the pen, and the first thing He made the pen to do when He was created is to write. But not because the pen is the first thing to be created. That's why we 100% know that before the pen, the throne was exist. And the throne at one point was not exist and something else was exist. That's why when they said, Ya Rasulullah, we came to ask about the beginning of this world. عن هذا العالم قال كان الله ولا شيء معه وخلق العرش. So they talk about this world, this universe. The whole story of the throne and the pen. This is, but who said that we are limited to this? And that's where human being has to stop. Because if we can know all the creation of Allah this way and that way, we became what? God. We became of knowledge like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's impossible. And by the way, this is also, if you want to know more about this, there's a book in English available, and it's a good book you can read, by Shaykh Ja'far Shaykh Idris. And he basically debated because those who study physics, this is a big issue among physicians who don't believe in God or believe in that the world created itself, because they keep saying that every creation must be a result of another creation before, another force before, and go to no end. Actually, Ibn Taymiyyah said that's true, but doesn't lead to atheism. It leads to explore the actually nature of God. And it should not. That's why Shaykh Ja'far said there is no need for these physicians or physicists to say that physics and science lead to the denial of the existence of God. That's the God that maybe the Bible drew, or the image of the Bible give to the God, or some human beings' understanding of God. But the way the appeal in the Quran and Sunnah, no, actually, it makes perfect sense. So in that book, he did very well in trying to show how these theories among physicists go in the same line of what Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, and Ibn Taymiyyah got very harshly criticized. He would make takfir for him because of this, actually. Because they misunderstand what he's saying. They thought he believed in one single creation to be no beginning for it. But Ibn Taymiyyah said, A'udhu Billah, I never said that. Ibn Taymiyyah said, every creation had a creation before it. And that goes all the way to no beginning. Anyway, the book, if you go to Ja'farShaykhIdris.com and look at his books. It's something of physicist. I don't know it's the English translation. It's called Al-Fizya'un Ibn Taymiyyah Al-Fizya'un Al-Judud, something like that. So if you go to the English part, he has only few books, like 5-6 books. So it's the first one. And it's about a PDF available in English and in Arabic as well. And Shaykh Jafar, he's a professor in philosophy, so that's his area. Yes?
Just a clarification, if Allah can't be unjust, is that because that would take away from His perfection?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not because, not the ability to do unfairness. That's why he said, I made injustice forbidden for me, because that doesn't fit him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not because the lack of ability, like some atheists said. No. It's like, oh, can God create a rock he cannot carry? Do you think they're smart? No, cannot. Oh, so God cannot. Not because Allah cannot. It cannot because it's impossible for it to. It's the third category. It's impossible to exist.
It's like a developer.
Exactly. I like that. Okay, I'll give you guys 10 minutes break since we did.
الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. Allah has also said, depend on the living one, he who will never die. And he, the glorified, has said, he is the first and the last, the outward and the inward. He is the knower of all things.
Huh? He's the knower of all things. Okay, here, this verses to confirm that he is Al-Hayy. And he confirmed Al-Hayy in two ways. By basically mentioning Al-Hayah, which is, he said, he has the name Al-Hayy. And since he has the name Al-Hayy, the name include in it the quality, which is the life. So he's the basically Al-Hayy, the living, and he has life. So he's the combination of two things. The ism that been given to Allah, the name given to Allah, it is a name and include the quality itself. Like he is the knower. So that means he has knowledge. It includes two things. So Al-Hayy, and the one who has life, and he confirmed that by saying Alladhi la yamut, will never die. So he basically negate death to confirm the complete opposite, which is the perfect life. Perfect life, that it will never be followed by death, or prior to it there is any death, or during this life, any period of time where you're like dead or closer to dead, like sleeping, okay, like being so sick as if you are dead. Never happened to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he said, وَهُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ وَالظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. These are names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. Again, see a detailed description of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These four names, Al-Awwal, and the second one, Al-Akhir. And these two names can come separate. We can just say Al-Awwal by itself and Al-Akhir by itself, because both give a perfect, complete meaning. But Al-Zahir wal-Batin, Ahl al-Ilm, the scholars, they don't separate them from each others. When they mention Al-Zahir, they combine it with Al-Batin. And when they mention Al-Batin, they combine it by Al-Zahir. That's why you might see someone, his name Abdul Awwal and Abdul Akhir. But you will find, according to the perfect way, he will be say Abdul Zahir al-Batin. Will not say Abdul Batin by himself. You didn't say Ya Batin. You don't say that. Or Ya Zahir. You don't say it, because the word by itself, it doesn't give the absolute complete perfection. You have to put these two together to give you that perfect meaning. So what is Al-Awwal and what is Al-Akhir and Al-Zahir and Al-Batin means? Who can be the best to give us the meaning of these words? Allah or His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because His Messenger, whatever he tells us, it is from Allah. So An-Nabiy sallallahu alayhi wasallam explained to us, okay, what these names means. He said, Al-Awwal, Allahumma anta al-awwal falaysa qablaka shay'. You are the first, so there is nothing before you. So Al-Awwal, it means he comes first. Nothing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of Ahlul Kalam, okay, some of the people, Ahlul Kalam refer to the people who speak in Aqeedah not based on Quran and Sunnah, but based on philosophical principles, stuff like that. We call them Ahlul Kalam because too much talk. Kalam, it means just talk, okay? There's no really much of substance. You know, just make it so complicated. Anyway, so it's okay. So going back to the point that they said Al-Awwal, it means Al-Qadim. Have you heard someone named Al-Qadim before? He said Allah is Al-Qadim. This something many people refer to Allah as Al-Qadim. Ahl al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah, the scholars of the Sunni tradition, who worry about their words carefully, they don't use the word Al-Qadim. Because Al-Qadim is not a name that is established in authentic hadith from the Prophet ﷺ or any verse. Al-Qadim is something that very commonly used by Ahl al-Kalam, by the different groups. And Al-Qadim is not a good word to use. To be honest and to be very accurate, because one of Ahl Sunnah al-Jama'ah's quality that they say what is for them and against them, and what is for other people and what's against them. So to give them the benefit of the doubt, Al-Qadim came in one of the narration of Hadith al-Tirmidhi when the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah has 99 names, whoever make ihsa for it will enter Jannah. Then the narrator added these 99 names. He mentioned these 99, the mention of them, that you have them print out and hang it. This is not from the Prophet ﷺ. That's a statement of Imam al-Zuhri rahimahullah or others. So one of the narration in Sunan al-Bayhaqi, it actually includes the name Al-Qadim. And some of them, but they are very weak narrations. And it looks like the word Al-Qadim has been added to it. It's a very weak narration. So anyway, Al-Qadim is not a good way to describe Allah. What's Al-Qadim means? Anybody knows? Old. Can you say Allah is old? You know, no. Because the word old, it gives a negative meaning. عَادَ كَالْعُرْجُونِ الْقَدِيمِ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it's like the old branch, or the old, basically, yeah, the old branch. It's just old and like about to break down. Something old, it means lost the strength. So the word old, it doesn't mean the first. It's different than al-awwal, the first. Even the word first is always give you like first class, first. First is a very positive way of describing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He is first. It means no one come before Him, as Allah the Prophet ﷺ said. And also He is the last. يعني He was the one who will last forever. Tab, you might say, Shaykh Waleed, isn't Al-Jannah will last forever? So He's not the only one last forever. He is the only one last forever, in a way that He is the first and the last. Yes, the Jannah will last forever. Okay, Al-Arsh will last forever. Yes, we know that. But at one time Jannah was not exist. At one time Al-Arsh, the throne, was not exist. So yes, it will last, but after it wasn't exist. But Allah lasts forever, but He also in the beginning forever. He never start, and there's no starting point for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Prophet ﷺ said, وَأَنْتَ الْآخِرُ فَلَيْسَ بَعْدَكَ شَيْءٍ. You are the last, so no one comes after you. So if He is before everybody and after everybody will last and remain subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is perfect, He never changed subhanahu. Also, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَهُوَ الظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ. And He is al-Zahir, the outwards, and the inward, that's how they are. Inward? Inward, outward, inward, al-Batin. How the Prophet ﷺ explained that? He said, al-Zahir, you are the one that there is nothing above you. أنت الظاهر فليس فوقك شيء. There is nothing above you, Ya Allah. Which it means, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-Zahir, it means that, Ya Allah, you are above everything. And when someone above everything, it means that this one is in control of everything, sees everything, can basically have control over everyone. Al-Zahir, it means above. That's why in the Quran, فَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ, about the dam of the Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. They could not go over it. Okay, وَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ فَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ. They could not go over it. So al-Zuhur, it means to go over something. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically al-Zahir. It means He's above and everything. And what that means, He's above everything, it means literally Allah above the whole entire universe. And also It means, one of the meaning, that his quality above any other quality. So his power above any power. His mercy above any mercy. His knowledge above any knowledge. His wisdom above any wisdom. Are you following? So يعني فوقية الصفات and فوقية الذات and also فوقية القهر. That means he's above everyone. He controls everyone. Everything under his command. That's one of the meaning of being above. Okay? They call it outward. I don't know if that meaning can be understood from how the Prophet ﷺ beautifully explained it by saying you're above everything. Then you have al-batin, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing, okay, hidden from you. There is nothing not under your control. يعني دونك شيء يعني أنت تحيط بكل شيء ليس شيئا لا تحيط به. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وسع كل شيء, encompasses everything. So Al-Batin is the one who encompasses everything, the one who controls everything. Because sometimes if you think, okay, maybe Allah above everything, but just because you're above, that means you encompass everything. You might think no. Allah wanted to tell you no. Him being above the world, didn't prevent him from also encompassing everything, having control of everything in the universes.
Then why do they have to go together?
In this case,
Yes, because linguistically we technically can have Allah is separate. At least in English it appears that we can have something which is above everything else, and the meaning will be sufficient.
Al-Ulama rahimahullah said because basically the perfection of it comes from putting them together. I agree. I agree. I 100% agree. It applied to both. That's why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, Ibn al-Qayyim said that. He said both has to go together. Like al-Qabid al-Basit. He said both to go together. وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٍ. It's going to come, we're going to talk about the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. يعني تعلم كل شيء تحيط بكل شيء لا يغيب عنك شيء. دونك يعني لا يغيب عنك. Yeah.
With regards to the name Al-Qadim, isn't that would make that inherently means that
There is no name it called Qadim for Allah, but that description that they give, yeah.
With regards to the people who say that one of the names of Allah is Qadim, wouldn't that necessitate having Allah just being new at one point? And wouldn't that mean that he's bound by time because he's old over time?
Yeah, but they didn't mean that. They said Al-Qadim, it means the one who been forever exist. That's what they mean. They said that what that word means, and also it could mean. And one of the reasons we reject this name, because it can carry both meaning. Can give this perfect meaning, which is forever been exist, but also could give the wrong meaning, which is old versus new, which is not something right. And they didn't mean that, but that's one of the reasons Ahl Sunnah said we cannot accept that as a description of Allah. And it should not be used to describe Allah with. Yes?
If you're going to get to it later, that's fine, but didn't Taymiyyah address the question about where Allah came from? Or like, obviously, there's a hadith about that comes to your mind what you're supposed to do, but does that get addressed anywhere in?
No, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we said, لم يلد ولم يولد. He didn't begotten. So he didn't come from anyone. He is been there when there is nothing there. From these things that you see. So Allah has always been there. So that's how it is, as simple as this. Yeah, and this is something the mind cannot imagine. There is many things we can understand, but we cannot imagine it. Like if I tell you, can you imagine gravity? Can you imagine gravity? You can't imagine that. You understand that. You comprehend that. Can you imagine energy? No, I cannot imagine energy. You know, I can't imagine that. But I can imagine the internet, how it's working. Yeah, I can understand the concept, but just to kind of to comprehend that and I know why, you know, but to imagine this, how it works, is just beyond your ability. So there is many things like that. It is beyond your imagination, because our imagination is limited to our knowledge, to our dimensions, to define. But that Allah subhanahu not defined by these limits. Yes? Very good. Al-Ali, above. Al-Zahir, it has extra meaning. So he is above in clearly above. Like kind of give that outwards. That's why they translated بالظهور. It always, there is similarity, but always give extra meaning. Yes. So Al-Zahir, it is a higher level than just مطلق العلو. Yes.
So in Jannah we can ask for whatever we want. Would it be possible to ask for better understanding, like the stuff that's still beyond our comprehension now? Still ask for, I guess, like you said, more imagination.
In Jannah we have more abilities than now. That's why we'll be able to see Allah's face. But I don't know how. We'll figure it out, I guess. Can I move on? I will give a time for questions. I'll take only questions that it depends on something I said that you cannot understand. Okay? Just because I want to move on a little bit faster. Okay, so there is a verse missing. وهو الحكيم الخبير. Where is that? I don't see it. It's in the text, but I don't see it here. Not Haida. Okay. So, anybody has the book? Yeah.
It's in there. It's in the mutton. Do you just need the mutton or do you need the translation?
Just the mutton.
Right here.
It's in it?
Yeah.
No, but not in the one that you guys, the binder that you have. That's what I'm trying. So I need someone to read the translation. Whoever reading, need to read the translation of it. I know it's in the mutton, but I'm just trying to. وهو العليم الحكيم وهو العلي وهو الحكيم الخبير. Both. You need to add these two verses. They are missing. Go ahead. Mention the verse number for them. خلاص, we have this in the binder. The next one.
They are in verse 2 and Surah 7 verse, the first verse.
So Surah 7 verse 1, Surah Al-Tahrim verse 2. So these are two missing verses. Okay. The one that I am familiar with, وهو الحكيم الخبير, not العليم الخبير, but anyway. These are two names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Read the translation.
And He is the All-Knowing, the All-Wise. This is the first one, verse 2.
Can you bring the microphone closer? It's not clear.
The all-wise, and this for the second one, I'll start with the first one, and he says he's the all-knower, the all-wise, that was Surah Tahrim, verse number 2, and the all-wise, the all-aware. This is Surah Saba, verse number 1.
Okay. How many of you took the class with Shaykh Ammar Shukri about the names of Allah? Excellent. So those who took the class with Ammar, what did he tell you about the name Al-Hakim means? What Al-Hakim means? So you guys took the class? The wise. What else? That's the only thing he told you? Did he tell you that in the class? No, what I know not what he said.
Everything correct happens. Everything that he only does everything that is correct, nothing false, nothing incorrect will happen.
Sarah, what did he say about Al-Hakim?
Wisdom is putting everything in its correct place or something like that.
Okay, very good. Anybody else?
It's the opposite of dhulm.
Dhulm?
Yes.
Not sure. The word Hakim, صيغة مبالغة, comes from the word, okay, have two roots. Either comes from the word hikmah, which it means wisdom, or comes from the word hakama, which it means ruled. Okay? And these are two different meanings, completely. So, Al-Hakim comes from the word hakim, which it means ruler. So it is mubalagha min hakim. So he is the absolute ruler. So Hakim, it means that he is the absolute ruler. So he's the one who ruled everything. And he ruled everything. Okay? Also, it means the ruling. It could be Al-Hakim comes from exaggeration, or exaggeration is a bad word, is emphasis, okay? From the word muhkim. Muhkim فهو حكيم, يعني he is the one who perfect things. So you have here three meanings. The word Hakim carries. Number one, ruling. Number two, perfecting. من الإحكام. والأولى من الحكم. And الثالثة من الحكمة, which it means wisdom. You listening? Guys? So three meanings the word Hakim can be referred to linguistically. Okay? Islamically or technically or in the Sharia, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He described Himself with this name, which one of these three He meant? All. As a matter of fact, all of them applicable to Allah. So Allah Hakim in a sense that He is the one who ruled. And Hukmullah, He ruled everything. And Hukmullah Kawni wa Shar'i. It means He ruled in a sense that He legislate. And He ruled that He make a decree. See, He ruled that you die. He ruled that you heal. He ruled that you get sick. He ruled that the sun goes this day. That's His ruling. The ruling is that the earth will be this way, or the season will be that way. That's a ruling. He ruled that and it happened. That's had to do in the universe. Also, He rules that He says drinking haram. Riba is haram. Business transaction is halal. He ruled. Woman must cover her head. Men, they don't need to cover their head. But they used to use their head. Okay? And, you know, and this awra and this not awra. This is this and this that. He rules. So basically, you have what? This first meaning. The second meaning, which comes from al-muhkim, linguistically. And al-muhkim, it means the one who perfect things. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things, He does it what? Perfectly. When He creates something, He created it perfectly. When He rules something, He ruled it perfectly. And the third one is the wisdom, which is also the meaning that can be linked to the word Hakim, which is the most famous one that everybody use, and even the translation go to it, even though the most linguistically, the most closest meaning to Hakim تأتي من حاكم وليس من حكمة, should be. But anyway, so Hakim, it means wise. What's wisdom? A lot of people, maybe including Ammar, but a lot of people say wisdom is to put things where it belongs. But that's wrong. And I'm sure he didn't teach you that, because I taught him that. Okay? That this is wrong. Wisdom is to put things where it belongs. That's wrong. Wisdom is not to put things where it belongs. That's called justice. Justice is to put things where it belongs. To give things what they deserve. That's called justice. Injustice, to put things where it doesn't belong. Or to give things to someone that doesn't belong to him. That's injustice. Wisdom is to put things where it belongs to meet the ultimate goal of it. لتوافق الغايات الحميدة من أجلها. So there is a goal you have in your mind. If you meet that goal, that's wisdom. If you don't meet that goal, that's not wisdom. I give you an example. An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in his time, a man came to the masjid and started urinating in the masjid. The guy want to take a leak. You know, he went to the back of the masjid, pulled his thawb up, he started urinating. The Sahaba get angry. Question, they have the right to be angry or not? Did this man did something wrong or not? What Islamically we should do? We should not let the masjid be what? Impure. So, you know what? That's what it is. The right thing is not to let najasa in the masjid. To keep the masjid what? Pure. Okay? So, what they did, they rushed to him and they came to him while he is doing this and start attacking him. Hey, you can't do this. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to, what's wrong with you? Okay? So if he did that, he's like, that means he exposes aura. That means urine can go all over the place. He can put it in his clothes. He can stop urinating and he can harm himself. Did we meet the goal that this legislation was meant for? No, I didn't mean the goal. So this action is not an action of wisdom. Because I didn't meet the goal of the legislation. You see? So if I come and I see you do something wrong and I go attack you and that led you to leave the whole entire deen, did I meet the goal? No. So the wisdom is something beyond the ruling. So here we say the wisdom must be to meet the ultimate goal, or the goals, or al-ghayat al-hamida, that basically the good goals that you want to achieve. So here we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the thing that He legislate, it lead to meet that goal. For instance, why Allah legislate so many rules to guard the interaction between men and women? To meet that goal, which is the purity, which is protecting the the honor, which is to make sure that people will not fall into adultery. But if you don't, that's the goal. This legislation meant to meet that goal. You see what I'm saying? And this is very important in the legislation, and also very important to be noticed in the way Allah made people and created people and made the things happen in the world. So it will meet that goal and that wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here, Al-Ula Ibn Al-Qayyim rahimahullah said that actually if you combine these three together, it became another fourth meaning, which is absolute perfection. That means He rules with perfections, and this perfection not only perfect in itself, it's perfect to meet the wisdoms. It has wisdom in it. And that's why Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's actions and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rulings and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's legislations there is always reasoning behind it. Because there is always wisdom behind it. Okay? And that's something Ahlul Sunnah solely believe in. طيب. Then he mentioned another quality of Allah, which is Al-Khabir. Okay? And by the way, you will notice that always the word Al-Hakim comes with Al-Khabir or Al-Alim. Al-Khabir is the expert. Al-Alim is the all-knower. Okay? Why? Why do you think they come together? What's the connection between knowledge and Hakim? Because if you have knowledge, you know how to rule. So his ruling based on perfect knowledge. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this is haram, because he knows why it's haram. And also when he says this, because he has wisdom. Wisdom comes out of knowledge. That's why Ahlul Ilm, the people of knowledge, has what? Wisdom. That's people older age have wisdom. Why? Because they gain so much knowledge and experience in life. That's where Khabir comes, experts. So the more experience you have in life, the more you get, you become more what? Wise person. That's right. You yourself, you see how wise you are now versus, last week. Last week. Last year or like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You gain so much what? Wisdom over the years. And that's natural. So here we go. We say that Al-Khabir and Al-Alim goes with it. What's Al-Khabir means? Khabir, the one who has basically knowledge of the detail of things. And not only detail, يعني الذي له خبرة ببواطن الأمور. He knows things from inside out. Knowledge is to know everything. But khibra is smaller circle. So which one is more knowledge? Khabir. Which one give more knowledge is the word khabir. So there is a similarity between khabir and alim. لكن الخبرة أخص من العلم. لأن الخبرة means knowing things from inside out. من بواطن الأمور. طيب, there is even smaller circle than khibra. Yes, it's called latif. So alim is the bigger circle. Khabir is the smaller one. Al-Latif is the one who knows the absolute, like from the lutf, the very, very small little things with excellence. All of them, it given the end a perfect knowledge, but just it's a three ways of describing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, then next, go ahead and read.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Quick, small, short question. With all these principles, then there should be nothing wrong with people taking on the names of Allah. If we believe that Lillahi Mathalul A'la and we believe all these things, then there should be nothing wrong with me naming somebody Ar-Rahman or Ar-Rahman or...
No. The names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has three levels. One level cannot be shared with humans at all. Why? Because the meaning of it cannot be fitting to any human beings. Like Rabbul Nas, Rabbul Falaq, like As-Samad. There is no one can call the Samad. Like Al-Qayyum, like Ar-Rahman. No matter how much mercy you have, you cannot be Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman is the level of mercy that only belongs to Allah. But you can refer to someone as Ar-Rahim. You can refer to one as Al-Malik, as Al-Alim. The second one, the ulama said that this Al if you meant al-mustaghriqa lil-jins, that it means the absolute ilm, the absolute mulk, the absolute wisdom, that's haram. You cannot give it to anyone. But if you mean that he has knowledge, he has kingdom, he has mercy, that's available. So Ar-Rahim, ذُقْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْكَرِيمُ في القرآن, even referring to a kafir. Okay? Al-Aziz al-Karim, وَقَالَتِ امْرَأَةُ الْعَزِيز. He has a type of power. Is not al-mustaghriqa lil-jins, يسمونها العهدية. You know, and a type of power. So that's fine. So it depends on the context of the word. That's why when a woman said, Ya Rasulullah, when the Prophet said, don't call me as-Sayyid. إِنَّمَا السَّيِّد هُوَ اللَّهِ. But we know that we can say Sayyidina Muhammad. We said Sayyidina Umar, Sayyidina Abu Bakr. But the Nabi here meant the one that is basically shows that he is the absolute Sayyid, the one who owns everything. So the context will determine how you are use this word.
Like Egypt, for example, you only try to say the names of these.
Yeah, it's okay. Because nobody understands from that context that you mean that she's the ultimate one. But this woman was trying to say, you are that, like she gave him that, overpraising kind of, like giving him divine quality. So the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no, قولوا ببعضكم أو بقولكم ببعض قولكم. So he refuted, the context will determine what that meant. Had, yes, fine. Yeah. Yes.
Would you have the same name like Aziz, Rahman?
It's Rahman, no. No, Ar-Rahman, no. Rahman, no. Cannot. And I know this is a name that's famous in certain part, Bangladesh and certain part of the world. Like that's not allowed. Like Rahman, no. Rahman only to Allah. Or Ar-Rahman at least. You can say Rahman, but Ar-Rahman only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rahman, I wouldn't be very strict about it, even I don't like it. But Ar-Rahman, no. That's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he heard this, Musaylim al-Kadhab called himself Ar-Rahman. He called himself Rahman al-Yamama with no alif lam. He said, Rahman, he said, Kadhabt, you liar. Innama ar-Rahman huwa Allah. Nabi Sallallahu didn't accept him to call himself Rahman. So that's a name that must be changed. And also, anyway, we need to move on. But if you ever name one of your children with one of Allah's name, okay, you have to be very careful how you became like I don't believe that you should do like you should be careful how you make kunya for yourself. So because the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his time somebody is named Abu al-Hakam. Al-Hakam, one of Allah's name. And he said, no, you can't be the father of Allah. He said, Abu al-Hakam, I'm the father of al-Hakam. Al-Hakam is Allah. It's like saying, I'm the father of Allah. Like Syrian, for example, have this very famous name, An-Nur. He said, Abu Nur. You can't call yourself Abu Nur. Famous name in India, Abu al-A'la. Maududi, for example, that's haram name. Abu al-A'la. You can't say Abu al-A'la. It means Abu Allah, the father of Allah. Abu al-Rahman, Abu al-Aziz. You can't say that. Okay, go ahead.
How about the name Samad?
Samad's not allowed. It's only for Allah. Because the meaning only fits Allah. Go ahead, read. You don't need to read the number of the verses anymore.
His statement. He knows that which goes down into the earth and that which comes out.
Because the number of the verses is not from Ibn Taymiyyah anyway. We only said the previous ones because it's missing in the book, so they can add it.
He knows that which goes down into the earth and that which comes out from it, and that which descends from the heavens and that which ascends into it. He is the merciful, the forgiving.
Next.
وعنده مفاتح الغيب لا يعلمها إلا هو يعلم ما في البر والبحر
ما في
البر والبحر وما تسقط من ورقة إلا يعلمها ولا حبة في ظلمات الأرض ولا رطب ولا يابس ولا يابس يابس.
يابس.
ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين. With him are the keys of the unseen. None but he knows them. He knows what is in the land and the sea. Not a leaf falls, but he knows it. Not a grain amid the darkness of the earth. Not a wet or dry, but it is recorded in a clear record. وقوله وما تحمل من أنثى ولا تضع إلا بعلمه. وقوله لتعلموا أن الله على كل شيء قدير وأن الله قد أحاط بكل شيء علما. He has said, no female conceives or gives birth except with his knowledge. And he has said that you may know that Allah is able to do all things and that Allah knows all things.
Very good. Ibn Taymiyyah, this man is amazing. Rahimahullah. Whenever can I imagine when he was writing this, he picturing in front of him what all these sect sayings I'm believing, and he just slamming them, like destroying their claims through evidence. It is amazing how he chooses these particular verses to make a very good points. Right? These verses not chosen كذا any verse about knowledge. And he carefully choose that. And I will this is just one example I will give because I can't do this in every single verse. That's another class, should be like long-term class. But one of the things that, as you can imagine, everybody will believe that Allah has knowledge. That's right. This is very hard for you to imagine a Muslim will not believe in Allah's knowledge. That's right. So no matter what sects we talked about, all of them will say Allah must be knowledgeable, has knowledge. You can't deny that. That's right. That's right. So what's the differentiation between Ahlul Sunnah al-Jama'ah and the others? Like for example, Mu'tazilah, okay, who came to the word, to the ilm, okay, and they come up with this idea which is very weird. They said, and somehow also Mutakallimat al-Sifatiyah joined them in this. They said that the ilm of Allah is something happened in the past, but it doesn't happen anymore. So he already knew everything, and that's it. So while things happening, doesn't mean that he knows that it's happening. Now, it's kind of a weird idea. Okay, so he said he knows maybe in the past that this will happen, but when it's happening now, he's not aware of it. That it is happening now. They said لا يتعلق علمه بما يحصل وإنما علمه حصل في السابق. What you were talking about earlier. Okay, so they have this idea, even his sam', his basar, everything like that. So that's why he brought this verse to start with يَعْلَمُ مَا يَلِجُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَمَا يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا. He knows what is entering and what is leaving. To tell those people that Allah, when he described his knowledge, he described his knowledge in relation to things that are happening now. Is connected to what's happening now. So in an indirect way, he actually refuting some of these claims that it was made about Allah. But you have to understand the claim or the doubt to appreciate why he chose these verses, rahimahullah ta'ala. Anyway, all these verses that he read establish one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's quality, which is knowledge. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is one of his unique qualities, in a sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the past, knows the present, and knows the future. And these are all mentioned in these verses. So in the beginning, when he told us that he knows what goes down into earth and which it comes out from the earth, that's what's happening in a daily basis. Okay? And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us وَعِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِحُ الْغَيْبِ. He has the keys of the unknown. And the keys of the unknown, what that means? What that means that he has the keys. Yani he has the access to the future. He has the thing that lead to what will happen in the future. He knows it. Because some people might know the future, but they don't have what lead to the future. For example, I might know what kind of baby you're going to conceive. I can calculate that and can figure out. I can calculate when the rain and when the hurricane will happen. I can know what will happen. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the key for the elements that will make these things happen. So He knows what kind of chromosomes and what kind of basically genes that you will have even before you exist. So He has these keys to the unseen, because some people said, oh, now we have science, we know there's not any more limited to Allah to know what's in the wombs. Yeah, but Allah knows what's in the wombs before the wombs are created. That's mafatihul ghaib, the keys to the world, to the unseen, the keys to the future. And not only that, also the amount of knowledge that He has. The amount of data, as in the modern language, that He has. Can you imagine when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ? He knows what's in the land and what's in the sea. Oh my God, can you just imagine what's in the sand and what's in the sea? And not only that, وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ. That even any leaf that fall off the tree, okay, He knows when it will fall, where it will land, and what will happen to it, and what will replace it. It's just unbelievable. These seeds that carried all over the world, He knows what, how, and when, and where, and what will happen to it. It's amazing. In Houston, I don't know how much we see this, but those who like to go to the nature and parks and stuff like that, especially in the falls, every time I go there, I just think about how this verse apply. When I see all this, basically leaves falling off the trees. And it's amazing how He knows all this. And what's in the sea and what's in the land. Like what Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, He sees and He knows, the dark, small little ants when it is in the night walking on the slippery, dark crack, inside the crack of a rock that is in somewhere inside the earth. He sees that ants, He sees even the vein of it, He sees what's inside it, He knows where it's going, what kind of... Can you imagine taking care of all these creatures, all these creations, from bacterias all the way to the big huge things that exist in the world? From the smallest things to the biggest things, in the same time, every single day, forever, this way and that way, past and future. That's amount of knowledge and expertise and power, something bring you to your knees. That's why human beings so arrogant. وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِ. They don't have the appropriate respect to Allah. And the more you see this, the more you know how small you are, how insignificant you are. That's why the kufr is the most unjust things can ever do. It's just to challenge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ, unless it is in a record, clear record. This word, in clear record, it means it was written in the book before even it happened. What that tells you? Tells you that He knows things before it happened. And He tells you in the beginning of the verse, He said, وَيَعْلَمُ, He knows now what is happening in the earth. So His knowledge is happening now while things happening. His knowledge is not something happened new to Him. No, He knowing it while it's happening, it's no surprise because it's already known to Him prior. So it is prior to the incident, while the incident take place, after the incident take place, He knew that it happened. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, not only that, I wish that He added one more verses. which is show the level of knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah also knows what never happened, if it happened, how it will be. So His knowledge is not limited to the existent things. His knowledge also applies to the non-existing things. And that's one of the difference between Ahl Sunnah and many of the Mutakallimat al-Sifatiyah. That we believe that Sifatullah also related to the non-existence, who knows what's not exist, if it happened, how it will be. For example, let's say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows if Abu Sufyan didn't marry Sufyan, who he would be married to other than Sufyan. And what kind of... It's recorded. Okay, so okay. Okay. Sorry. You know, he would have a miserable life, okay? That's what I'm trying to say.
It's not happen anyways.
Okay, so going back to the point. So he knows what it never happened, inshallah, will never happen. Okay? Okay? If it happened, how it would be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in many verses in the Quran telling us this fact. وَلَوْ رُدُّوا لَعَادُوا لِمَا نُهُوا عَنْهُ وَإِنَّهُمْ لَكَاذِبُونَ. If we had brought them back to the dunya, they will go back to disobey us. They are liars about claiming that they will change. Liars? It never happened. But Allah knows if it happened, how it will be. That's what He called them, liars. Because He knows what never happened, if it happened, how it will be. Allahu a'lam bima kanu amilin. Allah knows how would they do if this happened. Okay? لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا. If the hypocrites joined you in the battlefield, they will only cause more trouble. Did the hypocrites join the Prophet ﷺ in the Battle of Tabuk? No. But Allah said, if they would out, they would have done such and such. So He knows what never happened. If it's happened, how it will be. That's something, you know what we call today calculating risk and possibilities. And this is a science people have today. Can you imagine? This is for us a guessing game. For Allah, it is actual facts. He knows what never... This is unbelievable amount of knowledge. That's why the more you think about this, and I spend a little bit of time on this, because it is so important to reflect upon these meanings, so when you see the legislation of Allah, you take it with full what? Confidence and acceptance. You feel so comfortable. And when you hear the promises of Allah, you take it with so much confidence. Because He knows the future. He's so capable. And this is one of the beautiful things about knowing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes. Anyway, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَحَاطَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا, encompasses His knowledge, everything. Okay? And everything that is exist and non-exist. Okay? أحاط بكل شيء علما. That He knows everything that is شيء, it means anything. The biggest circle ever exists in the world, it's called thing. أكبر لفظ من ألفاظ العموم, the most general terms that you can ever use is the term thing. Thing. Everything is thing. Even you can refer to Allah as thing. قُلْ أَيُّ شَيْءٍ أَكْبَرُ شَهَادَةً قُلِ اللَّهِ. But you don't give it as a name, but as a referring to khabar. So thing. Thing is the most general term you can ever think of. Everything is thing. That thing. You know, yalla, go find out what that means. That thing. It's the most general word that you can ever use in English, and I think in Arabic, and I think it's in English as well. Then next, yes, read.
And he has said, indeed, Allah is the one who gives livelihood, the Lord of unbreakable might.
The
Lord of unbreakable might.
unbreakable might. Okay, so who gives livelihood and the Lord of unbreakable might. So how many descriptions he gets here? 3 or 2? What are the 2? Allah, okay, and Ar-Razzaq, the one who gives, okay, the provider, okay, and Dhul Quwwa, the one who has might, power. Where is Al-Mateen in English here?
So they use it as a sifa in English.
Unbreakable?
Yeah.
But as a sifa to the might, not as a sifa to Allah. So that means is not describing Allah, it's describing the word. Are you following? You see how it's the translation in English? Huh? Very good. That's what I want you to think about. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna Allah huwa ar-Razzaq. Ar-Razzaq comes from the word Razaqa. War-Razzaq, it means the one who, the provider. Okay, the one who provide provision. And the provision is not only food and drinks and money. The provision is much bigger circle than that. Provision that anything, any substance that you need to survive, anything, any substance that you need to benefit from, it called rizq. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the الفعل منها Allah الرزق. ما تقول الرزق صفة الله. You don't say الرزق صفة الله. الرزق المخلوق يعني الطعام. It's الرزق in Arabic language. Anyway, so here we say Allah is the provider of the provision. And by the way, just for the record, provision is a very, you can keep your mind open. So as Allah provide for you money, He provide also manners. He provide mercy. He provide wisdom. He provide knowledge. He provide circumstances. He provide family. He provide community. So it is a provision from Allah and a gift from Allah to you that you live in a good community, in a good basically time, in a stable family, in a stable house, all this kind. You know what? Sufyan, it is his rizq. Okay, and huh?
Good save.
Good save. Like Sufyan is a provision, is a rizq. Okay, so your son, your daughter, so that's what rizq means. Not only foods, not only money, it's much bigger than that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is huwa ar-Razzaqu dhul quwwa, the one who provide and the one who has what? Power. Why He follow ar-Razzaq with power? Why He combine these? Because not only that He have the rizq, not only the provision, He have the power to deliver it. You have the power to make it available anytime. You have the power to maintain it. You have the power to make it more. Okay? Then Al-Mateen اختلف أهل السنة. أهل السنة والجماعة debated among themselves, the Mufassirin. Al-Mateen, is it a description of Allah, or it is a description of the power, which is Al-Quwwa, or it is a description of the rizq, al-Razzaq? So is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing Himself and saying that He is al-Razzaq and He is al-Mateen? Okay? Or He describing He is al-Razzaq, the one who possesses power, and that power described as Mateen. There is anybody's name Mateen? It's a name that's a lot of people. I know a couple of guys, Mateen. So what is Al-Mateen? Not unbreakable. I don't know about these words. Al-Mateen, it means الذي بلغ النهاية في الكمال. The one which is basically absolutely perfect. Al-Mateen, it means something that is absolutely perfect, absolutely great, absolutely powerful. Okay? So, it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, unbreakable is okay, a power that reach its perfections, unbreakable power, okay? I understand now how he put it. But that's one interpretation, okay? Or you can say that Allah is Al-Mateen. So Al-Mateen is description not for the power and the might, it's a description of Allah himself, which is Ar-Razzaq. So that means Allah is Al-Mateen. What that means? Allah is the one that all his quality reach its perfection, or the highest, or the most perfect. Is that clear?
I understand that Al-Quwwah came to explain Ar-Razzaq.
No, Al-Quwwah is a name, a quality of Allah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then Mateen comes here to explain Al-Quwwah.
No, not necessarily. Two ways. It could explain Al-Quwwah, but it's much better to say it explain also Ar-Razzaq, to explain the nature of Allah, that when He provide a perfect provision, and He has the power to provide that perfect provision. So I personally feel, from a tafsir perspective, that Al-Mateen is actually na'at li Ar-Razzaq. It's a description for Ar-Razzaq, not a description for Al-Qawi.
So this will obviously go back to Ar-Razzaq. Because it would be kasra, then it may go back to Al-Quwwah.
Yeah, no, بس ذو, it's ذو القوة, رجع إلى ذو مرفوع.
But do not change Al-Mateen?
No. إعرابها يصبح خبر ثاني، يعني الله إن الله خبر إن الأول الرزاق ذو الرزاق المتين. It's like when you say Al-Ghafuru Ar-Rahimu. Two description to Allah. Ar-Razzaqu Al-Matinu. Two description to Allah. And this Razzaq and Mateen possess so much power. Okay? What's next? I'm trying to find what's the next verse. Yeah, Adhan. 5 minutes. Okay, next, read. We talked about this before. Yeah.
Are all these ayahs being mentioned, like referring to the affirmation and negation?
Yeah, he's mentioning how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also he's trying to show you that we should approve these names the way Allah described himself was. Yeah. Uh-huh. وهو السميع البصير. ليس كمان. Okay, so these are verses to establish the two quality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is as-sam' wal-basar, which is He sees and He hears everything subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next. A lot of time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to His quality with kana. He was. Why? ليش يكثر في القرآن وصف صفات الله بالماضي؟ Okay? He was all here, he was this, kana. Because if he was, that means he is, it means he will, in Arabic language. Just to show you that this is something not new happened to him. He always been this way. He always been perfect. Uh-huh.
ولو شاء الله ما اقتتلوا ولكن الله يفعل ما يريد. وقوله
because in Arabic language, kana has no starting point. كان ليس لها حد في الزمان من جهة الابتداء in the Arabic language. When you say كان, it means he was and he always been. So that's what it is.
And it doesn't have an ending point.
It doesn't have an ending point in Arabic language. That's why when we say كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, that the Prophet ﷺ used to, it means he never stopped. That's something he did it until he died. So we know that this kind of description from the Sahabi never take nasakh unless we have an explicit evidence to show that this is something became mansukh.
وقوله أحلت لكم بهيمة الأنعام إلا ما يتلى عليكم غير محل الصيد وأنتم حر.
I don't know where you're, okay, kind of different orders. ولولا إذ دخلت, did you read that?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, go ahead next.
إن الله يحكم ما يريد. وقوله ومن يريد الله أن ومن يريد الله أن ومن يريد الله أن يهديه يشرح صدره للإسلام ومن يريد أن يضله يجعل صدره ضيقا حرجا كأنما يصعد في السماء.
Very good. These are to prove that what, oh, okay, sorry, in English.
And he said, if only when you enter the garden you had said, that which Allah wills is, there is no chance.
So wills, the will of Allah. That to prove that Allah has a will.
And he said, if Allah had so willed it, those who followed after them would not have fought one with the other after clear proofs had come unto them. But they differed, some of them believing and some disbelieving. And if Allah had so willed it, they would have not fought one with the other, but Allah does what He wills. And He has said, the beast of cattle is made lawful unto you for food, except that which is announced unto you herein, hunting being unlawful when you are on pilgrimage. Indeed, Allah ordains that which He wills. And He has said, of whomsoever it is Allah's will to guide, his heart He expands into His mouth. And of whomsoever it is His will to send astray, his heart He made closed and narrow, as if he were engaged in sheer ascent.
Okay, the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of these qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He always been described with. He possesses it all the time. It's not related to conditions or anything. He doesn't when He will. He always have a will. And the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the quality that most of the sects agree with Ahl Sunnah on it. The will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is two terms used in the Quran to express that meaning. Number one is al-mashi'ah and the other one is al-irada. Al-mashi'ah and al-irada, the will of Allah, we'll talk about this in al-qadr more. The will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, al-ulama rahimahullah categorize it to two categories. Will has to do with religious issues, with things has to do with His love, that's something He loves it. And a will that has nothing to do with the religion, with the love and acceptance or hate. No, it has to do with His wisdom, it has to do with His creation. So Allah willed that the sun comes from the east. Not because this is something He loves it. No, because that's the perfect way to do the world. You know, that's how the rotation of the star should be. It has nothing to do with religious reasons. There is no religious significance behind it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want you, for example, to say Allahu Akbar, because He loves you to say that. So that it's a will from Allah, but something has to do with it He loves. He basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you and would want you to pray because He loves that. Okay, so that's something has to do with mashi'atullah wa iradatih, yani mahabbatih laha. Also, it could be related to the pure kawni things, pure creations. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you black, made you white, made you female, made you male, made you tall, short, you know, big, small. Not because Allah reward those who are female more than male, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves white more than black, or orange more than orange. I don't think orange is loved. Astaghfirullah. or blonde versus black. It has nothing to do with the color of the person. It has nothing to do with, that's a pure creation. It has nothing to do with love or rewarding, or it has nothing to do with the religion. Is that clear? Is that clear? So that's the point. Just for those who are interested, the word irada comes shar'i wa kawni, but the word mashi'a only comes kawni, never comes shar'i. Okay? Mashi'a never connected to something that Allah loves, or always related to وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا اقْتَتَلُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَفْعَلُ مَا يَشَاءُ. It has to do with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's go pray and we come back, inshallah. In English, it's okay, work both ways. But in Arabic, there is a quite different between the lafz al-mashi'a and lafz al-irada.